Would you like to speak like the best presenters in the world? Would you like a tip that can help you achieve that level of impact and inspiration every time you give a talk? Well, then stay tuned for our next weekly dose of public speaking medicine. Hi, this is Michael Davis, your public speaking MD. So what is this secret of the superstars that can help you become an elite speaker? Preparation. Ooh, isn't that sexy? Doesn't that sound like fun? Well, if you want to be an elite speaker, not just a speaker, but a performer in any industry or any field, preparation, practice, and repetition is the key to mastering that skill. Now, I've been hearing that advice for years in various industries, selling, speaking, coaching, and it makes sense. But when this lesson hit home for me is when I was attending an event back in 2015. I was actually volunteering for a group called Lady and the Champs. This is an annual speaking event where some of the best speakers in the country get together and offer speaking tips, tools, and processes to the audience. Well, right before one of the keynote speakers was about to go up, I saw her in the back of the room. She was gesticulating, making movements and motions as if she was speaking to someone, but no one was around. It was a rare opportunity. I just stood off to the corner and watched. And what I quickly understood was that she was going through her presentation. She was practicing as if she was already speaking to the group. Now, was this a novice, some new speaker who was working through some last-minute jitters, just trying to get herself under control? No. The woman in question is Patricia Fripp. Patricia is a Hall of Fame speaker, one of the best that has ever been in the industry. She was the first female president of the National Speakers Association. And today, she still speaks all over the world and is one of the leading coaches in the industry, if not the best. She's had a major influence on my life. And it was such a privilege to watch Patricia stand at the back of the room, preparing to give a talk that she has given probably hundreds of times, and still rehearsing as if it was the first time. If you want to be one of the best at whatever you do, but since this is a speaking video, we'll talk about presentation skills. If you want to be a speaker who's not just good or even great, but an elite speaker who leaves a lasting impression and impacts lives, I can think of no better example than Patricia Fripp. Wherever you are, be willing to practice, to rehearse, to get feedback, to make adjustments, and to know your audience so well that by the time you stand on stage, you've given that speech hundreds of times, mentally and physically. When you do this, you will leave an impact. I saw Patricia do this 2 years ago, and it still has a major impact on me. I can never practice too much or be too prepared for any audience, even though I know my material backwards and forwards. I'll leave you with this last thought about preparation and rehearsal. The late Glenn Frey, who was a founding member of the band The Eagles, one of the most successful rock bands in history, he was once quoted as saying that whenever the Eagles went out on tour or had a tour scheduled, they would never play their first date until they had rehearsed their set list perfectly 100 times in a row. If they were on the 15th or the 68th rehearsal and made a mistake, they started over at 0. That's why the Eagles are one of the most legendary bands in history and why they've sold hundreds of millions of records. Because they're dedicated to the craft. They understand the importance of preparation and rehearsal. I'm sure you can guess what your prescription is for this week. It's PDR. Practice, drill, and rehearse. Do this, and you can be a speaker who leaves an impact on people long after you leave the stage. I look forward to seeing you in our next weekly dose of Public Speaking Medicine.